So good morning, everyone. Debbie Hart, President and CEO of BioNJ, and I'd like to thank you very much for joining us and congratulations on being selected to present your company at BioNJ's BioPartnering Conference. So we have a new venue this year, which we're very excited about. It's in Jersey City, and we think it's a movement forward that will make a big difference for our meeting. We have a record number of company presentation applications, and so we do anticipate the largest event to date. We'd like to thank our sponsors very much who helped to make this event possible. So JP Morgan has been with us for a number of years now, more recently, J&J Innovations. And then just in the last 2 years, Morgan Lewis is with us. And for this year, for the first time ever, Jersey City Economic Development Corporation has signed on as a major sponsor as well. Thanks to our BioNJ team, some of whom you'll meet on this morning's presentation, for orchestrating the event. Lots and lots of planning and details go into it. We like to say it's sort of like a multi-ring circus when we get there, as you'll see if you haven't been there before. I'd like to give a shout out to Pavita Howe and Ann Wiskowski, who are our lead team members on this meeting. The amount of time and effort that they put into this is extraordinary, and will continue through the conference, and the rest of the BioNJ team as well. Again, you will meet some of our folks this morning. So this morning, we're also thrilled. This does not happen, as we say at BioNJ. We're very fortunate because everything we do takes a village, and we have an amazing one. So part of our village is with us this morning. And so we're thrilled to welcome Jack Levitt and Juliet Hart, who will provide valuable insights into crafting effective pitch presentations. I hope that you'll hang on their every word. We know we've seen them in action before, and we know that they're very effective at this kind of a coaching event. So we are very grateful for their time and their expertise. So at this point, I invite you to enjoy the program. I hope you get lots out of it. We will very much look forward to seeing you on May 14th. And I'll now hand the program over to our VP of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Pavita Howe, to go over some logistics and more. So thanks again for joining us. Pavita, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Debbie, and good morning, everyone. Before I get started, I just wanted to introduce Maria Carapucci and Ann Wiskowski. If you can wave. You'll be hearing from them a lot as we go through the process of pulling together your presentations and preparing for the conference. So please do watch for emails from them and reach out to any of us if you have questions. Also, you should have received an email with your information about the conference, your selection for the conference, and your room assignments. If you have not received that or seen that email, please do reach out to Anne, and she can help to provide you with the latest information. So to get started, as Debbie mentioned, we had an unprecedented number of presenting companies this year. 98 total were selected to present at the conference. So congratulations to everyone here who was selected. As you know, the conference will take place in person on May 14th, and we're excited to be at Liberty Science Center for the first time this year in Jersey City. So everyone, please keep in mind that you must register for the conference and attend in person in order to present your company. If you don't register for the conference, you're not able to participate in the conference or the company presentations. If you need help with that, please do reach out to us. And keep in mind also that your registration gives you access to all of the different parts of the conference, including partnering, our industry connections section, where you can actually sign up for 10-minute office hours appointments with large pharmaceutical companies and their BD people, as well as plenary sessions, networking, and of course the company presentation sessions. And you're welcome to watch other sessions when you're not presenting. The day will end with a cocktail reception at 5 p.m. So we invite you to stay and enjoy the reception to network and close out the day. If you are an early stage company, you might qualify for our entrepreneur membership, which would give you access to one discounted registration for the conference as well. This is only available to companies that meet the eligibility criteria, so you can check our website for information on that. So we do have a website for the conference, the BioPartnering website. You can see the URL and the link here. And on the day of the conference, all company presentations will take place in the lower level classrooms and the interactive theater at Liberty Science Center. So when you walk in the door, those rooms are on the ground floor to your left, and there's a big open space that leads into all of those rooms, and they'll all be labeled. There will be 3 time slots for company presentations, and you should have received your presentation time and room assignment from us. And again, if you don't know when you're presenting or what room you're assigned to, please reach out to Anne and she'll be able to help you. There are 3 different presentation rooms: the Delta Lab, Gamma Lab, or Interactive Theater, where the companies will be presenting concurrently in each time slot. All the 2-minute presentations which is by early stage pre-series A companies, will take place during the afternoon sessions. So if you were selected to make a 2-minute presentation, you'll be in one of 2 time slots in the afternoon. The 8-minute presentations will run in the morning and afternoon, and these are presentations for companies that are Series A or greater. We provided you with presentation templates for both the 2-minute and 8-minute presentations, and those templates are meant to serve as a guideline. Jack and Juliet will be presenting a little workshop on how to prepare your presentation and pitch. So they'll talk in more detail about the templates and what you should be presenting and how to prepare. So you're also welcome to use your own template and branding as long as you cover the information that we're asking for, and it is in the allotted amount of time. And keep in mind that you'll be on a timer. So we do call, let people know when the time is up and ask you to move on to the next presentation. So for the slides, all company presentations should be saved and submitted as a PowerPoint file. We cannot accept PDFs, so please send us the PowerPoint. Any videos embedded in the slide deck should be an MP4 file, and there are more details here on the slide. We can make that available to you again, and it should be in your email as well that you received when you were selected to present. We also offer free virtual coaching sessions for all the presenting companies to help you prepare for your presentation. And these sessions will take place in the first 2 weeks of April. You can sign up online using the links that were provided in your acceptance email. And again, if you don't have that email or if you need those links resent, please let us know and we can send them out to you. Your presentation slides are due no later than April 22nd. And we have a link where you can upload your presentations as well as your logos. So we use your logos and the 100-word description that you submitted in your application in our digital program book. So please make sure that we have all of the information and your presentation no later than April 22nd. And there are no exceptions and no changes after that date, because our marketing team will be busy creating the reels that we use in the presentation rooms. So please be sure to get us your final slides by April 22nd. On the day of the event, each presentation room will have a large timer in front of the podium, and you will be asked to keep to your allotted time of 2 minutes or 8 minutes. So this is a good time to remind you to prepare your presentation and practice and make sure that you're ready to present within that time frame. You'll be asked to pass the microphone on to the next presenter when your time is up and the timer reaches 0. We also encourage you to practice and participate in the virtual coaching sessions so that you can work on your materials and get some help if you need it to make sure that you can present in the time provided. When it's time for your presentation, please be sure to arrive at the presentation room 15 minutes prior to the start time of the session. You'll have instructions on your room and how to get there, and there will be plenty of signage for each of the rooms. All presenters will be seated together and will be called up in the order that they are listed in the program. And when you're introduced, you can come up to the podium where you will present using the podium microphone and a clicker to advance your slides. Once you're finished your presentation, we ask that you return to your seat, and all presenters are asked to remain in the room until the session ends and the other presenters have finished their presentations. I think I just saw a question in the chat about questions. We'll definitely have questions after this, this set of information so that you can ask about the presentations and preparation. So, there's Q&A after each of the sessions. So when all presenters have finished their presentations, you will be able to leave the presentation room, and there will be small tables outside of the presentation room to meet with potential partners and audience members who want to connect with you. So when you're done, you can leave the room, find the table with your company name, and stand there and meet with people who want to follow up with you. There is no Q&A during the sessions just because of the volume of companies that we have and the time allotted for each session. So please allow time to follow up with audience members immediately following your presentation session. The audience for these sessions includes potential investors and partners. They are expecting a very concise presentation that focuses on the business potential of your company. So keep in mind, you don't need to tell them everything about your company and your technology in the presentation. The objective is to captivate the audience with your innovation or technology or your story, and the goal to be to secure a follow-on meeting with an investor or a partner. So please keep that in mind. The idea is to tell a story that will be exciting to the audience so that they'll be interested in following up. And in general, we don't expect that an investor will be writing a check at that conference. So again, the goal is to get the next meeting. So now we'll talk a bit about the partnering system. As you know, this conference features a one-on-one partnering system. The system will open in early April, and you can go online, create a profile so that people can find you, and then request one-on-one partnering meetings. The live partnering will take place on May 14th at Liberty Science Center. So we have private booths that are numbered, and when you request a meeting, you'll be assigned a booth where you can meet the person that you've scheduled at that time. On the other days of the week, which is Monday, May the 13th, and Wednesday, May 15th through Friday, May 17th, you can also schedule virtual meetings through the partnering platform, but there will be no live events on those days. A video will be available to learn how to use the partnering system, and that's an important part of the conference, so we encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to set up meetings with potential partners. And again, we encourage you to take advantage of everything that the conference has to offer, including the plenary sessions, the exhibitor tables, and lots of networking, including the closing reception at 5 o'clock, and sign up for meetings with the large biopharma companies as part of our Industry Connections desk. The sign-up sheets for Industry Connections will be available online in mid-April. And again, this is a great opportunity to meet face-to-face with business development people from the large biopharma companies that are right here in New Jersey. We hope this will be an exciting and productive experience for all of you, and we look forward to seeing you live at the event. So now we'll open it up to questions, and then we'll have a presentation from Jack Levitt and Juliet Hart on how to prepare your pitch for the event. So with that, I'd like to open it up, and Anne, do you want to call on people for questions or read them from the chat?
So I've been answering most of the questions in the chat, but one of the questions was if you can have two people at the Q&A tables, and you can, but only one person can present in the sessions. And someone asked when the partnering window will open, and that will open in early April, and we will announce that date. Registration for the actual conference is open now. And if you register now, once the partnering system opens, you'll get a separate email from the partnering system to set up your profile that, as you see on the screen. The video will be coming out shortly, probably within the next week or two, about how to use the partnering system. And another question is, will New Jersey pharma, biotech, and investor companies have tables as well? How the partnering system works is each company that is in the partnering system, you will make an appointment, and we have partnering booths set up in 2 locations at Liberty Science Center. And what will happen is the partnering system will match you if they accept your request for a meeting, and they'll set a date within the partnering booth, and you'll get a separate email from the partnering system for that. So it's sort of like a system within a system. And we will also block off, if you're scheduled to present, say 2 to 3, we'll block that time off in your partnering system so no one will ask for a meeting during that time.
And in addition, the industry connections section will have tables for a number of larger biopharmaceutical companies. And they will be there, but you do have to sign up online for those appointments. That's separate from the one-on-one partnering system. And essentially, business development people have offered their time to provide 10-minute office hours appointments with the entrepreneurs at the event. So those will be live meetings, and they'll have tables near the exhibitor hall.
There's another question. What is the investor profile for attendees? Is attendance restricted to accredited investors? We don't restrict attendance, but we do offer complimentary registrations to accredited investors. So there will be investors in the room. And will we be able to see the presenter notes in our PowerPoint slides when on stage? Not sure I understand that question.
I believe your notes should show on the laptop. There is a laptop on the podium, and then your presentation will be on screen. So I believe the notes are visible, and we can double check on that with the marketing team who does the AV setup. Any other questions? Is that it for the chat, Anne?
That's it for the chat.
Okay, and I don't see any hands raised. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. And again, we're happy to answer questions or help as you prepare your presentation. So at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce co-founder and principal of LeaderStrong, Jack Levitt, and CEO and founder of Heart and Chin, Juliet Hart, to lead our pitch workshop. And Jack, we'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Pavita. Good morning, everybody. The opportunity that you're about to get, if you think about being an entrepreneur and what you want to achieve whenever you have a meeting, sometimes you want to meet an investor, sometimes you want to meet a partner, sometimes you want to meet some talent that you want to bring onto your team. And it takes a long time to arrange meetings, to find these people, to source them. Imagine them all being in the same room, and you have an opportunity to make an impression on all of them at once. That's the opportunity that you're being handed by BioNJ. So what we want to do in the next few minutes is talk about how to optimize that opportunity. How do you make sure that you make the most out of the opportunity to stand in front of all these people and make the impression you want to make? And that's what your pitch is about. As we talked about before, some of you are going to be pitching for 2 minutes. Some of you are going to be pitching for 8 minutes. We're going to be talking about all the different things you can include in there. The first thing you're going to think is, wow, that's a lot. How am I going to get into that amount of time? And the opportunity you have to be coached over the next few weeks is going to help you optimize the 2 minutes or the 8 minutes to make sure you get the most bang for the proverbial buck. So when you're pitching, the 3 things you want to try to get across, or the 3 things you want to try to achieve, first are letting the audience know what is your product or what is your service. What are they going to get if they get involved with you? Second, as Pavita said before, in 2 minutes or 8 minutes, I can guarantee nobody is pulling out their checkbook and writing a big check to you. They're not even writing a small check to you. In 2 minutes or 8 minutes, what you want to leave them with is, ooh, I want to know more. And you're going to have a table where they can come and learn more. So your job is to get them to that table. It's almost like the cultural phenomenon of dating. You want to meet somebody, then you want to ask them out on a date. The date is that Q&A table. And that's where you begin your relationship and hope it becomes something of a fruitful relationship. So the idea is to let them know where they can meet you, give all your contact information. So even if they can't catch you at your table, they can find you and continue the conversation. There are a bunch of different pieces of a pitch. The first thing is you have to grab the audience's attention in the first 15 seconds or so. What are you going to say that's going to make them really want to pay attention? A very quick overview of your product or service. You want to talk about your management team. You want to talk about the market you are going out and addressing. Who is your competition? And very early stage companies may not know who their competition is right now. A timeline. When are you going to make all these things you're talking about happen? Investors want to know that. The ask, and we're going to talk about what it means to ask the audience for what you want. So first, an attention-grabbing hook. What you want to do is make a bold statement up front. We have what we believe is an opportunity to change the life of patients who have X indication. Or we have the opportunity to help deliver a treatment that will be much more convenient for patients, things like that. Use statistics. Maybe you have statistics from some of your trials, an interesting fact about the market or about the indication that you're looking at, or a rhetorical question. Get people thinking about what will the world look like if we're successful. It has to be realistic. You're making a first impression here. And the first impression that you want to make with your audience is that you are credible and that what you say you can deliver on. So you do not want to go out there and say that you are going to eradicate a certain indication by 100% in the world in the next 2 years, when you know that's something you won't be able to do, even if it gets somebody's attention. Because if you lose credibility as a founder or a leader, you're done. You are not going to get a second chance to make that first impression. So really think about the first impression you want to make with your audience. You've heard the expression under promise and over deliver. This is where you want to do that. You want to be conservative with your claims, and then you want to knock it out of the park. So make sure that anything you're promising is something that you can exceed and impress those you're involved with. And again, I can't say it enough. Your credibility is going to be one of the most important assets that are going to take you through the relationship that you're developing with partners or investors or talent. Make sure that your credibility is always intact. Trust is optimally important right now. So let's talk about the product and service. First of all, what is a high-level description of the commercial aspects? The commercial aspects, meaning not what's happening in the lab, not what the science is doing, but what is going to happen that the world is going to see. What is the business that you're going into and the transactions you're going to make for patients, customers, doctors, etc. Who is the target patient going to be? Be as specific as possible. What are you going to do for them? Are you going to change the way they are administered their treatment? Is it a new kind of treatment? Is it something that is going to cure something, or is it something that is going to improve symptoms? Again, what are the outcomes you expect? How are patients going to access it? Is this something that is going to have to be a lot of these things are going to have to be prescribed. Some will be over the counter. Is this something they're going to have to set aside a day for infusions, or is it going to be a pill? All those different things to really paint the picture of what it looks like. If you are coming out of an institution or you're very early stage, you want to talk about your IP. Well, everybody should talk about their IP, but especially early stage companies. Do you own the IP? If not, where'd you license it from and what are the terms? When investors get involved with you, they want to know exactly what they're investing in, and if it's something that they can tangibly say that they own a part of, or they want to understand the terms to make sure that something is not going to expire in the middle of their investment. Remember who the audience is. While a lot of you are scientists, a lot of the audience members are going to be people like me, who, when you start using scientific words that are more than 3 syllables, are going to just feel them going over their head. When I hear too many scientific words, it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher to me, and the point is lost. You have a very short amount of time, and you want every word that you're saying to be something that is absorbed by the people who are listening. So, first of all, remember, people are there for business reasons. So talk about the business aspects of your company and also the commercial aspects of your product. Again, what's going on in the lab and how molecules are interacting with each other is interesting and will be part of a later conversation. But right now, we really want to know what is happening that people can relate to in terms of market share, in terms of investment, in terms of commercial partnering possibilities. So we're taking the normal conversation you're having day to day and elevating it to a higher level. And that's one of the joys and one of the pitfalls of being a leader in an early stage company. You really have to be able to translate from what's going on internally to the outside world. The best thing I could say is don't use terms that your grandmother would not understand, unless your grandmother was a PhD in some form of science. Then ignore that statement. Jargon, if you're using jargon that is very specific to your field, let's say it's oncology, and there are folks in the room who are more allergy oriented, they're not going to understand them. So make sure you define any terms you use. In fact, use as few of them as possible. This is directed to the 2-minute pitches, but it's also directed to the 8-minute pitches. Blaise Pascal said, "The letter I have written today is longer than usual because I lack the time to make it shorter." If you think about that, it doesn't make sense the first time you look at it. And then if you really think about it, it's much easier to say something in a lot of words or a lot of time than it is in a short amount of time, which means that you are going to have to take your stories that you are so proud of and that you think every bit is important and edit it down and edit it down and edit it down until you can time yourself and fall under the 1-minute 59 mark or the 7-minute 59 mark. Because when Pavita and Ann say that you're being timed, you're being timed. There are no, let's go an extra 10 seconds kind of permissions or leeway. It is on time because we have a lot of companies to listen to. So practice, 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 and time. And by practicing, I don't mean speed up and talk a lot faster and try to cram more information in. Just the opposite. You want to talk at a pace that's understandable, that everybody could hear. You cannot stuff 10 pounds of flour into a 5-pound bag by pushing really hard. You cannot get 15 minutes of information into a 2-minute pitch by talking like an auctioneer. So really edit down and understand. I recommend an outline of 3 or 4 levels and then chop levels off of information that is not important until you get into the time that you want to speak. Talking about management. Partners and investors rely heavily on management, especially in early stage. You are the only thing that brings credibility to the table. Your science is not proven yet. So your ability to prove that science is what they're going to invest in. So experience are the key drivers. Now, the next few slides are going to have pictures and images of the way you can present these things and not take up make wordy slides. So here's the team of us who are going to be helping with a lot of these pitches. There are a lot more of us, but that's me and Juliet and a guy named Alan Van Loo over here, who some of you know. What you want to do is talk about what our titles are. The titles are important, but even more important than that, put logos underneath. showing where they've been and where they've gotten their experience. When you do this, you do not have to say, and our CEO is Jack Levitt, and our Chief Pitching Officer is Juliet Hart. You can say, on the screen, you can see our leadership team. Notice on our screen, you can see our leadership team. That's all you have to say about management because the rest will be visual. Use the slide to complement and supplement what you're saying rather than repeating it, because you will waste a lot of sentences by saying Jack Levitt, Juliet Hart, Alan Van Loo. Jack was at Leader Strong and Rutgers. You can just see the clock ticking away, and that'll make you anxious. Minimize the number of words you have to say by complementing them up on the screen. In addition to the management team, you also should have a bunch of advisors. The advisors we have here are obviously the top in the field, Debbie Hart, Pavita, and Ann, who are the masters of the partnering conference. So having them on our team lends a lot of credibility to the audience. The audience is going to say, wow, something about this company attracted these advisors. So there must be something really big here. Let me learn more. Some of you are not going to have all of this, so you may not want to make it as prominent. It may not be the most important feature of what you're doing. So we're going to talk about how to judge where to put each of these slides or each of these images in your presentation in a couple of minutes. We also want to know who is the market. Remember I said we're going to talk about the commercial aspects of what you're doing. The commercial aspects include who is going to buy or use your product and how much money you're going to be able to return to your investors once they do. So you want to talk about your product and service. Describe the whole market. Who is the whole possible market? How many people in the world have a food allergy, for example? And then show that you understand that you're not going to take on the whole market at once. You're going to take on a smaller part of it. Nobody is able to tackle the entire global market right out of the gate. And no product is really able to attack the whole global market on their first try. So show an understanding, show a little humility here and say, I know that even though the market is humongous, we know that we can't take it on. We're realistic. Again, build the credibility with the audience that you know what your limitations are up front, and talk maybe later in a later conversation about how you plan to overcome those. Then you want to talk about what your medium-term goals are. In 5 years, we want to do this. But the first thing you want to talk about is your lowest hanging fruit. Where do you see a customer base or a patient base that is going to quickly adapt or want to adopt your product or your service? And that's who you're going to be going after first. And again, I have a bunch of words here, but there are ways to show this by showing the total available market. That's the whole market, the big, humongous market. And what is the estimated value? And do a little research about how much money is being spent on X. What is your indication? The next circle in there, the medium-sized one, is the serviceable addressable market. The current business model, what are you able to tackle? Based on what you were coming out of the gate with your first product launch. How much is possible to go out there? How much of the market will it serve? And notice, if you look at these circles, they're smaller than each other. The serviceable market is half of the total available market. Remember, by being humble and showing that you know that you're not going to tackle the world builds your credibility. And finally, the smallest circle is the serviceable obtainable market, or your target. Who are you going after when you're coming out of the gate with your first approval? What is the value of that? And how do you plan to get there? You're not going to go from 0 to 60 right away. What is your plan to get there over time? And we're going to show a timeline in a second to show how you plan to start to grow. If you have competition, you need to let us know, or let the audience know who it is. Everybody may not know this. You may be looking at an indication that's unaddressed, so you would say there's no competition right now. But if you know who they are, you want to create a table to compare yourself to them with important market qualities. And I'm gonna show one in a second. What you want to do is you want to stack the deck in your favor. So you want to pick qualities that you know that you can hit out of the park and find competitors that maybe can meet some of them, but not all of them the way you can. Again, showing this graphically saves time. So here you see your company. You can treat X, have no side effects, and you have easy dosing. While the first competitor can treat the indication and not have side effects, but the dosing is really difficult. Competitor number 2 can also treat the indication, but the side effects are ridiculously inconvenient for the patient. So you can't put a check there. Notice that you're the only company that can meet all these criteria. So when you build this, think about it. And again, if you put this in graphic form, it doesn't take up as much space in the slides you're showing. And more importantly, you can say, as you can see here, we are the only company compared to company A and B who is able to meet all these things. Short, sweet, to the point, and it's also very easy for the visual learner to see exactly what you're talking about. Use images to complement what your talk track is saying. Next thing you want to talk about is your timeline. This should be visual, left to right, chronological, what is happening today and what is going to be happening after several different time milestones, either quarters, half years, etc. You should include when your funding is expected or when you want to get your funding. You want to talk about any trials that are starting or where you are in your development, conversations with the FDA, things like that. And you want to talk about where future funding will happen. So if you're looking at your Series A, where do you expect to see Series B? Or if you're looking at Series B, do you expect to go public? Do you expect private equity to come in? What are your exits? And show them as almost as if you're on a highway where different exits are, or liquidity events that investors might want to see. Here's an example of a timeline. So you see, we start with the second quarter of 2024, which we're about to enter. One of the key things you're going to be doing there is presenting at the BioNJ BioPartnering conference. So that's an important milestone for people to see. Second half of 2024, you're going to submit your trial plan to the FDA and hopefully get your approval also and start securing your funding. So you want to talk about your funding as well as your development and FDA relationship. So what's happening with the product and what's happening with money and how do those things coincide with each other? Because investors are going to want to know, what are you using my money for? Is it going to be enough? Things like that. And all the way out to the first half of 2026. Obviously, your story is going to go out longer, but this is the story you're really going to be talking about right now. What's happening in 2029, that can happen at your table or in a later conversation because it's not really as relevant to getting your next round of funding right now. All this needs to culminate in asking the audience for what you want. So the ask, all in capitals because it's really important, is the intent is to let the audience know what you want. If you don't tell them what you want and you get up there and tell all these great stories and create all this great perception about your company, and then the audience doesn't know what they're supposed to do with it, you just wasted your 8-minute opportunity or your 2-minute opportunity. And you've also left a bunch of people wondering, should I go and talk to them? Do they want to talk to me? So you really want to be very, very specific in what you talk about. This is not a time to be humble. This is not a time to say, yeah, we want to get some money. No, we want $2 million in the second half of 2024. Don't be shy. If you're a shy person, leave the shyness at the door for your time of presenting. You need to be bold, not obnoxious. You don't want to be so bold that you come across as cocky or obnoxious or arrogant, but you want to make sure that you're coming across as confident and you're able to make your ask and pass what I call the red face test. In other words, when you're making your ask, practice in front of the mirror. If you turn red, you have to keep practicing. You want to be able to be confident enough that your face doesn't turn red and your voice stays steady when you're asking for what you need. A lot of first-time pitchers get a little timid about asking, wondering, am I asking for too much? So what they do is they undercut it and say, you know what, 2 million may be too much. I'm only going to ask for $1 million. What winds up happening is you tell your investor that you need $1 million when you really need 2 million, and then you have to go back to them, tail between your legs, and say, I underestimated, which takes your credibility and makes them start to question it. And you don't want anybody questioning your competence, especially at this phase of what you're doing. So understand what you need, ask for it in a very straight, direct way, standing confidently, face not turning red. And when you do, don't expect everybody to just jump up and throw checks at you again. What you're going to do is expect that you are going to have a further conversation. And make sure that you're at that table with your calendar out to start arranging for future meetings. And I hope to see everybody super crowded right after their pitches. So I'm going to go back to the elements of the pitch. And you're going to see they're in different colors here. You need anything in green is something that you really need, must have in your pitch. You have to have an attention grabbing hook. If you don't grab the attention of the audience up front, they're not going to be interested. So you want to grab them. You want to give an overview of the product or service, and the investors in the room are saying, oh yeah, that's a market I'm interested in. Or the partners are going to say, oh, you know what? That's a partnership we're going to be interested in. Or if it's something they don't play in, then they realize that this is a meeting they don't need to have afterward. You want to talk about your management. Again, you are the credibility that a partner is going to partner with, that an investor is going to invest in. It's critical. And you also have to have the ask. If you don't ask for something, you're out of luck. But numbers 4, 5, and 6, the market, the competition, the timeline. If you're very early stage, you may not have as elaborate a timeline as I showed. You may know that by 2026, you may be in the clinic for the first time. So talking about what goes on in the second half of 2024 is not going to be as relevant. So you can really have a shorter timeline and talk about it very quickly. We plan to be in the clinic in 2026, period. But if you do have a timeline where there are identifiable liquidity events and approvals and gates, that's where you want to spend more time talking about your timeline. If you have competition, if it's an established market and you're coming in and really going to disrupt the market, you want to spend time showing who the players are that are in there now and why you are going to be the innovator that is going to displace them. Again, but if you are an early stage company and you don't know who your competition is, right now, this is a market that's untouched, period. Don't waste a few seconds on something that's not going to matter to the audience. And again, the market, the size of the market that I showed, you should include, but you want to spend more time talking about who the market is if you can segment it, if you've thought about how you were going to attack it. Are you going to attack it geographically? When are you going to start in the US? When are you going to go to Europe? How long is it going to take to get approval from the EU? All those different things. The more depth you have, the more you can talk about them. And these are the pieces that are flexible in length based on what stage you're in and what is going to pique the interest most of the members of the audience. So these three are expandable or contractible. The ones in green pretty much need to be where they are now. If you find that you have a board of advisors who is made up of all of the Saul Bearer Award winners from at BioNJ, you want to make that right under your attention grabbing hook and say, I have put a team together of advisors, and here they are, who have launched so many companies, and then talk about your product and service. So really think about the different impressions you want to make, and you can order them. And again, when you go through a coaching session for your pitch, 2-minute or 8-minute, the people in the room will tell you what their perception is about how to structure it best. So these pieces, I have them in order here traditionally, but again, they're flexible. This is your presentation. I saw a question before about the number of slides. The fewer, the better, but use them economically. The fewer words per bullet, the better. The more images that you can point to and say, you can see here who our management team is, that provides you economy of words. Pictures are literally worth 1,000 words in a pitch like this. So the more graphic that you can be, the more words you're going to get to use. So it's really almost like having 2-minute presentations or 2 8-minute presentations, one that's visual and one that's auditory. So think about how you're going to be complemented by what's up on the screen. My screen's over there, that's why I'm pointing that way. I see a bunch of things in the chat. I didn't see them come in, but I'm going to stop now and take questions. Juliet and I are going to take questions. So, Juliet, did I miss anything that you want to add, by the way?
No, I think everything was great, Jack. Thanks. I think a little bit of perspective as you're talking through everything, maybe a little perspective on who the audience is and what they're thinking might help a little bit thinking big. That when people are coming to your pitches, they've already, whether an investor or someone in BD, they already have a concept in their mind of what type of area they're wanting to go in, oncology, neuroscience, whatnot, right? So they're already handpicked which ones they've kind of want to come and talk to you about. And I think when we're talking about the pitch, to Jack's point, you got to deliver all the information because they have a certain amount of money in their pocket. They're looking at the timelines and who they want to invest in. But they also are looking at who you are and the confidence that you're portraying. And that's critical because they want to know, are you someone that we can work with? Are you someone that we know that you're confident that you can bring this forward despite all of the potential challenges that you're going forward with, right? And you're going to, fight through any barrier if you need to. And that's the type of confidence that we're looking for in these conversations. Hence why the story is so important. And I just wanted to reiterate that. So.
Oh, awesome. Great. Now I guess is the time if anybody wants to raise a hand or something in the chat if you have questions.
So,
Jack, there's some questions in the chat.
Okay, let's
The
see.
first thing is a lot of people have been asking if we're going to share the recording and Jack's deck, and the answer to that is yes, we will be sending that out. Another question is, where is the go-to-market revenue pricing story for some of us who are already revenue making? So Jack, where would you suggest that they put that in their presentation?
Great question. And that would probably go under somewhere in the market or competition section. Because if we're going to talk about your pricing, you can compare it to your competitors. It's a great column to have in your chart to show that your price annually or for full treatment is X compared to what your competitors are doing. You can also show it on your timeline where you can show funding and also where your revenue is and where your break even is going to be. So there's a couple of different places to put that. Each one has sends a different part of the message. Does that answer your question, Matthew? Okay.
Okay.
Can we gear the presentation?
Can we gear the presentation? Oh, you.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. You are there to talk to the audience you want to talk to. So if you're not looking for partners, don't pitch this to partners. The ask is very specific to each one of you, and make sure that you're gearing your presentation to those you are talking to. And even up front at the very beginning, you could say, just about when you're about to give your overview of your product, say, today we're looking to find manufacturing partners as well as Series B investors. So at the beginning, the ones who need to turn on their listening are notching it up, and the ones who don't need to hear it are going to listen for interest and other things, but are not going to be thinking about how to take next steps.
So Jack, just to add to that one, Philip, we do want to recognize that this conference is a partnering conference, and generally we're working with companies that are looking for investors and or partners. We do ask that it's not a sales pitch for customers because that's not really the focus of this conference. So we would suggest that you focus on the investors and partners as part of your pitch.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? I don't think I was that good that I answered everything. There has to be one or two others.
One that I don't remember if we talked about was the IP. So don't forget, for the 8-minute, the 2-minute, you may not necessarily,
I
but the
think we,
8-minute.
yes, we definitely want to talk about the IP. Here it is. You own
Yeah.
it. If not, who owns it? And what are the terms you own it under? And you have to make sure that you can show all those licenses and things like that to those doing due diligence. Excuse me.
There's another question about whether there's going to be a template provided. So you should have received a link to the templates or attachments with the templates in the email that you received from SurveyMonkey. If you have not received that email, it also includes your room assignment and the time of your presentation. So please be sure to reach out to Anne and she can provide the information. We want to make sure that everyone has the template and the room assignments as they prepare for their presentations.
Okay, Bill Sun asks, is Q&A included in the 2-minute presentation? Bill, 2-minute presentations are going to be serial, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. But at the end of the 2-minute presentation session, outside the room, there are going to be tables. Your table's going to have your company name on it. You're going to go out there and you can Q&A for as long as you would like. So we don't want to restrict the amount of time or have questions go on in the room, but those are longer, more involved conversations that you can have at your convenience.
And just a heads up for the virtual coaching, we've seen for the 2-minute presentation, people get a little uncomfortable with how much you pack into maybe two slides. It's something that is expected in the 2-minute presentation, that it seems a bit cluttered. You don't want it to look too difficult, but you only have so much time and you want to leave up as much time for the information that you just shared. So having fewer slides is really critical, and it does come across as a little cluttered, but you're getting in what people want to hear. So.
And this is where it comes in handy to have college kids in your family who are really good with graphic design help you out to get those slides packed with as much information yet looking as uncluttered as possible. Leave some kind of marketing or hype to get folks to come see the pitches since it's at the end of the day. Avita, and that one's yours.
So in terms of the pitches, so they won't be at the end of the day. There are 2 sessions in the afternoon for the 2-minute pitches as well as 8-minute pitches. There are 3 rooms running at all times. And as you can imagine, with the 2-minute pitches, there are actually several companies in each room. So we think that there will be people excited to be there. We use judges, and some of those are investors to just observe all the presentations. And following the pitch sessions, we will have a final panel or fireside chat planned, which we think will draw people to stay for the rest of the day, and then networking reception at the end of the day. So we are doing a number of things to make sure we're drawing people to the presentation rooms. There is also a break in between those 2 afternoon sessions, and that will be in the exhibitor hall where we're serving refreshments, and expect that a lot of people will be mingling in that area, and then we'll go back into the presentation rooms. So Donna, hope that's helpful. We're obviously promoting the conference heavily from now until May 14th as well, and expect to have a very strong attendance this time around.
Okay, the next question, Anne, looks like it's yours. Amy's question.
Oh, there's also was a question earlier, is Q&A included in 2-minute presentations? It's not included in the presentation sessions, but like Pavita said, there'll be tables outside after the presentations where you will be able to talk with people and ask questions.
No, scroll down more to Amy
Yep,
Lau.
and I see Amy's, so to schedule the coaching sessions, there was an email sent out through SurveyMonkey Apply, and I know some people have not gotten it. If you haven't gotten it, please email me. My email's at the beginning of the chat, and I can resend that. It has a Sign Up Genius where you can sign up for coaching sessions, and once you do that, then I will confirm sometime this week or next and set that up for you. And there's also a question about recommendation per presenter contact info to be the first slide, last slide, or both.
Yes, Don, I agree. Canva is great. I would have the name of the presenter on the first slide, just so the audience knows who they're listening to. And at the end, as you're leaving your last impression, make sure that your contact info is there. Your name, your phone number, your email, even LinkedIn. And if you have a QR code that has all that, put the QR code and watch all the phones come up and take pictures. So QR codes are great. Again, it takes up a little space and has a lot of information. So there's a lot of different ways to be economical with words and with space. Great question. I'm glad you asked that one.
And I wanted to ask for Pavita, the marketing per se, there's still the platform, right? That's open all the time that you can add all of your pitch or whatever type of white papers, whatever you
Yes.
have that you want to add that people can look ahead of time.
Yes, so when you get the information in April for the one-on-one partnering sessions, you will be invited to go in and set up a profile for your company. And in that profile, there's plenty of room to put your bios, your company information, even attach a slide deck. So you're welcome to put any materials on that profile that you want. And then every attendee at the conference is invited to create a profile, and you're able to reach out to people to ask them for a meeting, and then they can view all your materials and decide if they want to accept the meeting. That gives you access to every single attendee as long as they set up their profiles too. And so we encourage you to do that when you have the opportunity. And then also go into the partnering platform to see who else is there and who you'd like to invite for a meeting. And this is where we will have a video posted soon that will show you how you can set up your profile and use the system to take the most advantage of your time at the conference.
And I just want to yes and that before I get to Mandar's question. Again, these are very short pitches, and there are a lot of things that you're going to want to say, and they're going to be questions maybe about your science or more about your market and things like that. So bringing along your backup slides that weren't in your pitch, but you want to have them readily available either in a deck that you have physically paper, or if you have an iPad that you want to bring, or a laptop where you want to show somebody, say, oh yeah, that's on slide number 35, and go to slide 35 and be able to show more detail than you're able to show during the pitch. So there are going to be a lot of opportunities to share more than just 2 minutes or 8 minutes. Mandar had a question about QR codes. I am not an expert in how to create them, but I know that you can create a QR code where you take your camera and take a picture of it that links you to somewhere. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you have your own QR code that will send somebody to LinkedIn, or if you can create a QR code that goes to to your website. And there's also those virtual there's virtual business cards now where you can actually have a QR code that creates a contact to put in your phone. That I haven't done that yet. And I haven't figured out how to do that, but there are companies that'll do that for you. So there are a lot of ways to do that. You can put a couple of QR codes up on your screen, even like one to the company and one to you. Does that answer your question, Mandar, or was that more confusing?
Yes, you answered it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
There's another question about how large is the table for the 2-minute pitches? And do we have an opportunity to set up materials? So the table you'll have is a high top round table. I think we showed it in one of the slides. They're not large exhibitor type tables. It's really just a meeting place for you to meet with people who come to follow up with you after the meeting. So if you bring materials, you're certainly welcome to keep some materials with you and show them. And another opportunity for anyone who's attending the conference is to consider some kind of exhibit table, which is part of our sponsorship packages. So if you're interested in that, we can refer you to Sherry Hennessy, who is our VP of Member Engagement and Strategic Partnerships, and she is handling all exhibitors and sponsorships for this conference.
Pavita, Dean had a question about the working laptop on the podium. And do we know that the notes section will be able to be up there along with?
So there will be a laptop on the podium. It's a laptop that will be preset with all the presentations in a reel. I'm not 100% sure if the notes are visible, so we will check with our AV team or our marketing team who manages all the AV and let you know after this session.
Oh, and good advice on the QR codes, Dean. Thanks for that. How large an audience will it be? How large or how many seats are in the different rooms? Pavita or Anne?
So the audience just varies from group to group. You'll be grouped together. So for 8-minute presentations, most of the rooms will have 8 or 9 companies presenting per session, per room. And for the 2-minute presentations, there will be about 18 to 20 companies presenting per room. So, it depends on what the interest is from investors and partners and others who want to see the presentations. Some of the rooms hold, the smaller rooms hold about 40 people. And the larger room, the theater, which is the interactive theater, which is where all the 2-minute pitches will be, hold about 100 people. And part of that is because we'll have a lot more presenters in those rooms too.
I can just say from past years, the 2-minute presentation room has been standing room only, and you were lucky if you could stand in there. They've been very well attended. Any other questions?
I think that's more talking about, thank you very much. But talking about for the small business, usually focus on 1 or 2 product and target a specific indication of patient population. In our case, we have a platform technology which can be used to develop multiple products and form a pipeline. And in this case, we should say how can we describe our market or patient and something. We should start with one or product as well.
So that's a good question. If you're a platform company, you could definitely say that. Let's say you are a platform company that's addressing different types of cancers. So you can say the market for breast cancer is this, the market for ovarian cancer is this. You could talk very high level, but you don't have to go down all the way down to addressable market, saying, as we develop, we'll do more. As we develop each of these on this platform, we'll get more information, but here's the big size of the markets that we'll be attacking. So keep it at a very high level if you're talking about future products on a platform, and maybe a little more in depth about the first product that's going to come out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So there are a couple more questions about the pitch being recorded. We do not record the pitches in the presentation rooms. And will the audience see the title of our presentation? I believe we share in the program book the presenter name and company name. I'm not sure that we actually put a title of the presentation. We do also display your company name and logo when you are introduced to come up to the podium. So your name will be visible. So we make it possible for people to reach out to you, but I don't believe we put the title of the presentation in.
We
Yeah.
do put your company description, which you put in your application when you applied. There was a spot for 100-word company description. That's also in the program book.
Right, thank you, Anne.
And I would say the majority of pitches don't have a title to them. Maybe if there's something that's really compelling that you're going to say about your product, you would have it in there. But a title, again, you're using space and you're using words that are going to click away seconds on the clock and space on your slides.
Right. So it's just the company name and logo, which is usually what you're speaking to when you're introducing yourself and a picture of you.
Think economically. All right, any more questions? All right, I'm going to stop sharing, and Pavita, I am going to turn this back over to you.
Thanks so much, Jack and Juliet, for preparing that presentation and fielding all the questions. We really appreciate it. So, of course, we're thrilled to have all of you presenting your innovations at the BioPartnering Conference. We're looking forward to working with you. A few reminders, please, if you are interested, be sure to sign up for the coaching sessions. They're very helpful. We have a couple of coaches per session who will help you with your presentation. Plan to come prepared with a presentation that you have and then get feedback on it so that you can hone it in and be ready to go for the conference. In addition, be sure to register for the conference and watch for emails regarding the partnering system, as well as the sign-up sheet for the industry connections desks. Those will be coming out soon. And also always watch for emails from myself and Anne and Maria, who are always reaching out for materials and updates so that you don't miss anything. So we'd like to thank you all for joining us, and I'd like to see if Debbie is on.
Pavita, you had a couple more
There's
questions.
a couple questions.
Oh, okay. How many attendees in each room? So again, it varies. The rooms, as I mentioned, can hold the rooms for the 8-minute presentations hold about 40 people. And so it'll just depend on the session and the time and the companies that are there. People do tend to look at what companies are presenting in the room and then decide where to attend. The interactive theater for the 2-minute sessions, they hold about 100 people. And so we do have room for a larger audience. We also will have many more presenters in that room because we tend to fit in more 2-minute presentations into those sessions.
Pavita, just a question about that. In terms of when the concurrent sessions are going on, the concurrent pitch sessions are going on, are there going to be any other things going on, any other presentations going on besides those, or is the audience, are the attendees going to be, this is the only show to attend in town, so pick one of these 3 rooms? So it's really going to be the focal point during those times for attendees to go to. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, so there are 3 rooms running during each presentation session. So there will be 3 rooms and there will be companies presenting in each of those rooms. There is no other programming happening at that time. So there's no panels or other sessions. So the focus is really on company presentations. So anybody that's there to hear presentations should be in one of those rooms. And they'll all be on the ground floor, all in the same space. There's also, I see another question about, do you need to register per company or per attendee? Registration is per attendee. So your presenter will need to register, and anybody else that's joining you from your company will register separately. Okay, anything else that we missed before we close up?
So when the coaching session, what time frame for the coaching session?
So the sessions run in the first 2 weeks of April. There is a link to sign up for a time slot. It was in your acceptance email. If you don't have that link, you can reach out to Anne and she will send you the link. It's like a doodle poll. You can go in, you can sign up, and you can pick the time slot that you want, and then you appear for that appointment. And just a reminder, we're inviting coaches to give their time to help the companies. So we ask that when you sign up, you do come prepared with a presentation, and there are no cancellations, because if you aren't able to attend, then most of our time slots will already be filled up. So we aren't able to change the time. So please be sure to pick a time that's going to work for you and come prepared so that you can get some good feedback and make it a productive session.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Anything else? I see Dr. Farber. Did you have a question? No?
I think you just
Okay.
want to say hello.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Debbie, would you have any closing remarks for us?
Sure. Just just a couple of quick thoughts. One is that I'm thrilled to see that we had, I think we maxed out at 80 people on the on the meeting room, and so that's a good showing for the 98 that we invited, and of course there's the opportunity to see the follow-up video. If anyone would like that, you're more than welcome to look at that as well. Some great questions here today. I do hope that you felt that your time was well spent. We are so grateful to Jack and Juliet for their sharing their time and their expertise yet once again. Also, as always, thanks to the BioNJ team, Pavita and Maria and Aaron. And we look forward to seeing you all on May 14th. And in the meantime, if you have any questions at all, or if there's anything at all that we can help you with, even a quick conversation for some extra coaching or whatever, our team stands ready to assist. And so thank you all for the great work that you're doing. Patients can't wait, as we say at BioNJ. So we look forward to seeing you on May 14th, and all the best in the meantime. Pavita, back to you.
Thanks so much, Debbie. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're excited to see you on May 14th. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of our team members. Thanks so much.